2, 1. We will be live on Facebook, hopefully. Okay. I think we're live. Are we live? Yes, we are live. All right. Assalamu alaikum and welcome, people. We are here today to talk about results. So one of the things that I was thinking about when I was preparing to talk to you for our discussion today is I was like, at the beginning of at the end of 2019, everybody was like posting memes, 2020 is going to be the year. And then COVID hit. And then we have all of these memes telling us that we were supposed to start a business and find ourselves and reflect, and our life was supposed to get a complete overhaul because all of a sudden we have the time. And then for everybody who did not achieve all of those things that they had put a list about, why didn't we? It's not like we didn't have the time, right? For many of us. So what is the difference between actually achieving your goals and getting results and making goals and then remaking goals and then putting them off to remake them again? Right? And so that is the impetus of our conversation today with Saiyyidah Zaidi. Thank you for joining me, Saiyyidah. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Mubaraka. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here. And you know what? You set absolutely the right context for this conversation.
So for really quickly, because I want to dive into the conversation, I just want to tell you a little bit about Saiyyidah. She is the author of her new book, Results, The Arts and Science of Getting It Done, a science-based approach to helping turn potential and possibility into results and performance, bringing together positive psychology, personal growth, and project management strategies. Saiyyidah has created a unique methodology which she has used with individuals and leadership teams. Saiyyidah has worked with partners in international consulting firm, spoken at universities, and supported not-for-profits to accelerate their results, and do this based on clear intentions, identity, and values. So I am so excited to have you on the show today because, as I talked about in the intro, I think everybody wants to actually achieve their goals and not just keep setting goals and resetting goals. So can you tell us a little bit about what was the impetus that made you put together initially the concepts of the book?
So firstly, what a great question. And the biggest problem that I had this year was really knowing what to do. So I had a kind of quite a busy schedule in terms of travel and work and so many different things. And then March comes along and we're told no more travel, you can't even go outside. It just, so I'm sitting at my desk and I'm thinking, what can I do? Because you're absolutely right. All of a sudden we have all of this time, but our heads are just not in a good place to do something constructive with that time. And I think it doesn't matter what your situation is, there, everybody was somehow affected by the impact of the pandemic and of COVID. And the key thing for me really was I was looking for a solution for me, right? So my primary thing essentially was to make sure that my mental health, my kids' mental health, my husband's, anyone that was in my kind of vicinity, that we were all able to somehow keep relatively sane. But other than that, what do I do, right? And so I'm sitting at my desk, I'm kind of like searching inside, trying to work out what shall I actually work on. And I had one day too many of soul searching. And so I thought, well, what is my actual skill set? And I then kind of leaned into the project management side of things and took the view that if I planned things out, then I would have at least a little bit of a direction of where I'm going. And so by doing that kind of work in terms of really looking at the processes of project management, but also at the same time, I'll be honest, I did so much internal work to really understand, what is it that I want to do? How do I want to show up? All of those things. And I don't think you can do that work enough times in your life. And so what then started was a parallel journey of me trying to kind of understand myself better, but also work out what projects I wanted to work on. And as I found the solution for me, I came up with the kind of articulation of what has turned into the results method. And essentially, this is something that I've been kind of using and teaching over 10 plus years, but I never actually sat down and wrote it out and was able to look at it in terms of a process on a piece of paper.
So before we get into how that method can really change the way that we achieve our goals and get results, what are some of the mistakes that people make along that process of setting a goal and then never actually achieving it?
Oh man, there's so many. And I can tell you there's so many because I made every single one of them. So like working on somebody else's projects and not prioritizing what you want, because you just think, well, it could also be because you think you don't think you're important enough, or your project's not important enough, or somebody else's agenda is just far superior to yours. It could be that you're not organized, so you're kind of busy doing what I call the logistics of life, and you don't have that capacity to really focus on what's important. There is also something about kind of like capability and capacity. And I think what happens is that we focus too much on the capacity thing, and we try to do far too much. And then what we're doing is we're not really utilizing the skill set that we have. So we burn out. But the opposite side of that is that we bore out. Right, so you either pick too much to do or you don't pick anything at all. And I think those are really the kind of key things that that people do wrong. I mean, one other thing that I can tell you, because I've done this myself, is that, we have access to so many tools in terms of time management and how to manage our time effectively, and yet we don't do it. Right. I'm not saying everyone needs to get up at 5 a.m. every single day of their life, but you need to at least have an idea of what the structure of your day is going to look like going forwards.
So take us through those steps of, well, you have 7 steps for getting results. And so before we go through those steps, do you feel like these steps are specifically for business, for life? Can they be applied to anything? Like, what can they be applied to?
So the book is called Results, the Art and Science of Getting It Done. And for me, that's actually quite a heavy title. Right? I didn't want to call it art and science if it was not tried and tested and able to stand up to some level of scrutiny. And so I took the method through a beta test with one organization and with a small group of individuals. And, I appreciate that this is not a scientific assessment of whether this method works or not. But the key thing here is that in terms of the organization, it helped them to become more connected and live their values and have a much clearer intention and operate in more integrity. And it actually did exactly the same for the individuals as well. So for me, it works in business, but it also works for individuals.
And can you speak a little bit to how important it is to have values connected to goals? Because sometimes those two things are disconnected, right? We're doing something just for the money, or just for the attention, or just because somebody asks us to do it. How important is that in achieving goals?
So here's the thing, right? And actually the beginning of the book starts with this. It starts with what I think is the problem of settling. And that happens, I think, as a response to the relationship between values, goals, and actions. And there is actually kind of research, coaching and mentoring and psychological research that backs up what I'm about to say, which is that if your goals and actions are not linked to your values, then you don't have that same kind of connection. And how that shows up is that people set a certain kind of path that they're going to go along, but then when an obstacle comes up, they may not be as committed. When something goes wrong, they may be just a little bit more likely to give up. And then you kind of maybe go, 4 or 5 years down the line, and you've met all of your objectives, which could have been financial, but actually you're not in alignment with who you are. And so somewhere along the lines, there is going to be some element of resistance, or you're feeling that you're not really enjoying it. And I think that when we take our the projects that we're working on and we actually link them to our values, to our strengths, to who we are as human beings, and then we create what we want as our, what I call our compelling future vision, then any project that you work on is going to be in alignment with that. And if it's not, you have a choice as to how do you then turn that thing into being something that you really want to do. Because the general example that I use is that I am really not a fan of the kind of the routine, the mundane day-to-day cooking. I love cooking, but I really don't like doing it 2 or 3 times a day. And I've had to work out, how do I connect that with my ultimate vision and with my values? And I can do it through viewing it as an act of service as opposed to as a chore. And so when I do it that way, my attitude towards it is different. And so I don't have kind of like a resentment or a frustration that I'm doing it. So I'm using that as an example.
Oh, wait a minute. You can actually train yourself to like to cook?
I'm not saying that I like to cook, but I'm saying that I have a different reason for why.
I'm trying that myself. Like, does this work on getting kids to wash dishes?
Well, if they know why they're doing it, right, then yes, 100%. But the thing is that it's all about what is the end goal. And so I look at my kids, and I mean, they're teenagers. I mean, even putting the laundry in the basket is a challenge for them, but that's because they don't understand how something like that fits in with their bigger picture. If they did, they would do it.
Okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this with my daughter. And I'm going to let you know in a couple of weeks if we get less resistance in washing dishes. Then I will give you a testimonial.
I don't know about the washing dishes. That's why I got a dishwasher.
Whole series, results for teens. Results.
And it's interesting you say that, because one of my kind of one of the things in my vision for 2021 actually is to do a young person's version of this book, because it's just really fascinating how things work out, right? When I was doing the beta test of this, I had 2 or 3 people say to me, we need a version of this for kids. And I was like, okay, just wait. It's on the agenda.
Grown-ups get some first. Let the grown-ups get some first.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about, so you have 7 questions that you could ask yourself in order for you to achieve this method and connect your results to your values. Take us through those questions and why are they important in this process?
So I think whenever we've achieved something or whenever we've done something, the first question that we should always ask is what's next? If you're not asking that question, actually you're kind of stuck in the moment or you're stuck in the past. And whilst there's always a lot of benefit in terms of reflecting on lessons that you've learned from your history, the what's next question, I mean, even when I ask it, you feel a sense of direction, right? You feel a sense of where you're going. And so that then gives you an opportunity to look at where you are now.
Mm.
Now, to begin with, answering what's next is what I think is quite an unusual way of doing it, because you begin by addressing your internal obstacles. And I've identified what I call a showstoppers. And so that's stuff like self-doubt, self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, having a fixed mindset. And if you have any one of these things, then rather than kind of not doing anything or ignoring their existence, why not work out how you can stop resisting them and start to accept them? Because that's certainly something that has helped me. I mean, look, even today, I'll be honest with you, self-sabotage turned up for me so many times today, right? Today is supposed to be the launch of my book, and there were so many things that went wrong. And I'm having to fight it and just kind of think, you know what, I have to keep on going. I have to keep on going and overcome all of those things. The easiest thing would have been just to say, oh, well, it's never going to work out. And then you're setting yourself up on a trajectory where you won't get the results that you're looking for. But really, you've created that situation yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we begin by addressing and leaning into these things. Once you've done that piece, then the next question is, who am I? And I think that as human beings, we spend a huge amount of time really trying to understand other people and not enough time trying to understand ourselves.
That's a big question, though. That's a
It
big
is.
question that a lot of people don't have the answer to.
It is, and you know what? It is hard because I'll tell you, like, even when I was discussing some of the value stuff inside my own family, people become uncomfortable with it because it is such a big question. But you know, the thing is that if you are willing to go there and ask yourself what your values are and what your strengths are and how you like to communicate and understand yourself more, then you pick the projects that you're going to work on. And that's then you set your kind of compelling vision. You know, your everyday experience of life is just going to be so much better because you know what you're saying yes to and also what you're saying no to. And so the thing for me that was one of the really, really useful insights in the last few months has been that I have so much clarity now on what I don't want to do. And that then gives you the space for the things that you do want more of in your life. And I can tell you that for me, one of the things that I want for everybody is I want to raise our level of subjective well-being. And really what that means is I want people to be more happy, right? I want people to be happier. I want people to feel more content. And if that's not happening, then don't look somewhere else. Ask yourself why that's not happening. And when you start to understand yourself more, then chances are you will say no to some things because you know why you don't like them.
That is so very true. I always say one of the reasons why we settle is because we don't know what we really want.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Like when it comes to settling, really all we should be doing is settling for the very best. If we're not doing that, then there's some work for us to do. And look, I'm not just pointing the finger, I'm also looking at myself too, you know, because I know that there are still areas of my life where I am settling either for mediocrity or somebody else's agenda, or, you know, I maybe I haven't done enough work in that space. But that's okay because we are all a work in progress, right? And as long as you do the next piece right, which is selecting the 3 projects that you work on, and you've looked at the capacity that you have, not your capability, because the thing is, I think that whatever you put your mind to, you are capable of it. You just might not have the space to do it. And as you identify these 3 projects and you kind of like make progress in small steps and in big steps, that's when you then start to really understand yourself more. And actually, you're able to work on things that you enjoy more as well.
What's the crux of the question that gets you from planning to actually implementing?
So I think the first thing really is that you've got to pick the right projects. right? And that all needs to be in line with your vision. So one of the processes that I have in the results method is that you've created what I call your project 3x3. So you've selected 3 projects to work on for 3 months with 3 priorities. From there, you create your weekly rhythm. Then you create your monthly moves, or like your monthly challenge. Then you create your annual plan. Now, when you follow that process, you've not got the kind of headaches of what am I going to do on a daily basis? You know, like you're not then taking your annual plan and linking it straight away to your day plan, because I think that's impossible. But when you start with the quarter, then work to the week, then go to the month, and then go to the day, there's just something miraculous that happens in terms of how we have more clarity by following that process. But the other thing as well is, like I say, that everyone should take their plans and put them on a wall and kind of spend a few minutes every day breathing it in. So, and this is also something that's very uncomfortable, right? But if you have your plans on the wall and you are looking at them and you are engaging with them, why would you not either change your plans or work on your plans and make them actually happen?
So how do you, when I think of that, I think of pushback from people who say, well, if I put my plans out, you know, maybe my parents are not supportive or my husband are not supportive. And so I don't want everybody to see, like, how do you do that if you are in a household where you feel like you're not going to get support around it?
And such an important question. And I would say, look, ideally, you're going to put them on the walls. I mean, I can tell you, when I first drew my plan for the results method, I put it on a whiteboard, and I was embarrassed every time someone would come into the room. So I know what it's like, because all of a sudden it's like you're just putting your soul on the table for people to look at. And so what I would say is you make your plans and keep them somewhere private, right? You can put them in your diary, you can put them in your bag, you can put them wherever you want to. Just lay them out for a couple of minutes and just look at them every single day. That's the key thing here. Of course, if you can put them up on the wall, then absolutely fantastic. But if you can't do it, do whatever it takes. The key thing in this is this concept that I have about breathing it in, because when you do it, you're engaging with it. Like, I know other people talk about looking at your plans, and I think that's great. But look, I mean, there's so many things I can look at, but I don't do nothing.
We know this every day from social media.
Right.
How many people do we watch do great things and we're like, oh, that would be nice to do?
Exactly. You know, I mean, look, when it comes to fitness, I mean, everybody knows exactly what they should be doing, but they're not doing it. Why? And I think that there is something about the concept of you just breathing in, because here's the thing, right? Within the results method, there's something called what I've created called the GPS. And the GPS is called the kind of goal positioning system. And there's 4 elements to it. There's your intention, your identity, your integrity, and implementation. And if any one of these things is missing, then I think chances are you're not actually going to have as much progress as you could with the plans that you've created. Now, if you are in complete integrity with yourself, then however your plans are, look, this is the plan that I had for the results book. Like, it's on a napkin. It doesn't need to be anything posh. So, but I looked at it every single day and it just sat on my desk. And that's the key thing. If you are in integrity with yourself, you will show up, because all of a sudden you've created something and it has meaning for you, right? And that's the difference. You're not doing it for anybody else. Look, I think when it comes to accountability, we all need external accountability, but that is only going to work if we are accountable with ourselves first. If you can't do that, honestly, you could have every single coach in the world on your team, but nothing is going to happen.
One of the things that, so you mentioned earlier about how things go wrong, obstacles get in the way. How do you, some obstacles we can plan for, some obstacles we can't. What's your tips on getting past obstacles when you have that goal? You know exactly what you want. It aligns with your values, but everything screws up.
Yeah. And I mean, look, so much of that has happened to me, even in the launch of this book. Like, it's real life. It happens. And what I would say is that it's about optimizing what I call your 3 environments. So that's your people environment, your psychological environment, and your physical environment. When you do that, then you create a kind of a place where the obstacles can come, but you're ready, and you'll remain committed to doing the work. In terms of the kind of people environment, it's really about making sure that you have individuals in your life who are supporting you and who are kind of acting as your champion and want you to succeed. I can tell you, right, Mubaraka, you have no idea what I had to overcome just by asking people to help me to set up these interviews and say, is it possible for you to interview me on your channel because I want to speak to you about my book because I have a particular goal, right? It's the hardest thing. Every single element of my imposter syndrome came up, and it still comes up. So before these calls, I got to psych myself up. Right? But do I view that as a obstacle that is going to kind of disable me, or do I view it as something that is always going to be there, but I've actually created the right people environment to support me so that I can thrive? And that's just one piece of it.
Finding the people that you feel that are supportive. That's so important, because I often think that sometimes we concentrate too much on the people that don't support us, and we don't see all of the supportive people and the people who are in our corner, right? So we hone in on the haters. We shouldn't hone in on the haters. So you said that there's 3 parts. There's people, and what was the other 2?
So there's people, psychology, and your physical environment. So the people environment covered. The psychological environment, I think, is kind of like, in some ways, we've spoken about that already within some of what we've said, but there are also still some other things that you can do, in terms of making sure that you really optimize your sleep, your hydration, your exercise, your nutrition, all of those things. Now, when it comes to the physical environment, I think that especially this year, that's something that we have ignored, but there's never been a time where we've actually needed to prioritize it more. And by that, I mean the environment that you're in, right? You need a clean desk. It doesn't matter if there's piles of stuff, like I've got piles of books on my desk, but that's okay because it looks neat. And what that does in terms of the subconscious is it makes you think, I have a space to work. You're not having to fight for yourself. If you are, and I will tell you, I've done this for little bits of my book, right? If I'm sitting on my bed and just thinking, oh, it's okay, I can write here, it's not the most productive work. And so it's as if you're creating obstacles for yourself. There's also something, and this is what's really, it amazes me so much in terms of what the science says about how we can optimize our environment. There's actually been studies done that talk about the fragrance of the space that you're in, and about how when you have it kind of a nice odor in there or a nice smell in there, actually it motivates you to work. And I think the thing is, we all know this, but we're not actually kind of putting nice fragrance within the room that we're supposed to be working in. We do it in our front rooms, right, or our lounges, or when guests come.
Yeah, I'm totally guilty of that. Absolutely. It's so funny because, like, I have the classic incense stuck inside of my plant, but it's not lit. Right?
Absolutely.
Totally. If it was in my living room, it would definitely be lit, but in my office, it's just there.
Yeah, and if I was coming around, it would be lit, right?
Yep. If it was an in-person interview, you want everything all nice and smelly. That's funny. So I'm gonna start implementing that. I'm gonna give me some good smells every time I start working. I like that. So the physical environment, the psychological, putting people around you. What is one more thing that you could recommend to people that you think can be the thing that somebody can implement like right now to start towards their goal that they've been procrastinating on, or they're trying to do, they're making new goals for 2021. Hopefully we're in the last quarter of the year. Everybody should be thinking about 2021. We're going to put 2020 behind us. We're going to go forward with positivity. Okay.
Amen to that.
and thinking about what we're going to do, what is something people can do like right now?
You know, one of the best tools that is in the results method is about how you utilize your time blocks. And so it's so easy to do, because all you have to do is set yourself an alarm on your phone. And I talk about 10 different types of time. Now, if all you can do is find 10 minutes, that's okay, right? Ideally find 25. If you can find 2 hours, that's brilliant as well. And I would encourage everyone who's watching this just to set an alarm, maybe for 25 minutes, have a blank piece of paper and just start writing down what is it that they really want to do in 2021. With no kind of expectations or agendas from anybody else. Just write down what you want to do. And then see where that goes. And I would say, don't filter, right? Because here's the thing. Whenever I ask people to do this exercise, I can see they're thinking, they're kind of going off. It's like, am I allowed to write that down? It's your piece of paper. You can write down whatever you want. No one needs to look at it, right? You can burn it, shred it, do whatever you want with it afterwards. But if you don't actually articulate what your desire is and what you're hoping for the next year or so, then how are you ever going to know? You know, this book has been inside my soul for over 10 years, right? And it's funny because even I was speaking to my husband the other day and I was like, I can't believe that I've managed to be so productive in such a short period of time, because I wrote it in 1 month. And yeah, there's been a huge amount of edits and all of that other stuff. And he was saying, yeah, it's true, but you've had it in you for all of that time. Right. And so the thing is,
you wrote it way before that. It took you a month to put it on paper.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's fascinating is I describe the creation of the results method as 10 years of insight in 10 seconds.
Wow.
And it's available to all of us if we search. I think for me, one of the really interesting things about the question that you've asked is you're making me reflect on how I did it. So I literally took, like a ream of A4 paper, and I would start with a fresh piece of paper every time I sat at my desk. So I didn't have all of the stuff from yesterday or all of the stuff from the morning or whatever. And I would just begin with that blank piece of paper and say, okay, what is it that I want? What is it that, and I just kept on going until it came to that point where I knew. And maybe that's why I had that 10 years of insight in 10 seconds. But this is work that I would never have done had I not felt as uncomfortable as I did because of the situation that we were pushed in with the pandemic. And I think that it's hard work making yourself uncomfortable. Yes. But when you go there and you're willing to do it, that's the point from which I think miracles happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So most importantly, how do we get our hands on the book?
So you can go to Amazon and just search results, the art and science of getting it done, and you will find it, and you are good to go.
And so it's ready for order? It's ready for order right now?
It's ready to order right now. I will say the paperback is ready. What I'm also going to say, though, is that hopefully from tomorrow, this is the headache I've had to deal with today. Hopefully from tomorrow, the Kindle version is going to be available for free for 48 hours.
Wow. Okay.
And so I'm gonna be sending out messages to everybody, including yourself, to say, look, if you want this for free on Kindle, just do it within this set period of time, and the book is yours.
And for everybody on Facebook, I will post the link inside the comment. And then when Saiyyidah gives us the notice, come back and check the comment so that I can give you the link so you can go. Well, you can go and order the book now, but then you can come and do the Kindle thing until your book arrives. We want to buy the book.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I was like, you know, I've bought so many books on Kindle, and then when they turn out to be good, you just end up buying the paperback anyway because you want to put your notes.
Take back because we want to support you, but we want to get that book up on the Amazon list. Okay, we not gonna pretend like we just trying to get the Kindle. We want to buy the book. People, go buy the book. Okay, pay for it. It's okay. Go buy the book. So I will be ordering mine as soon as we log off. I will go and order mine. And in fact, you know what I'm going to do? Post, if you tag a friend underneath this video, I'm going to choose somebody where I will order one for you. I will do, and I'm going to do, I didn't tell Saiyyidah I was going to do that. I actually just decided to do it right now.
Wow, that's so generous.
Instagram and somebody on Facebook in the next 24 hours, tag a friend so that they can learn about the art and science of getting results. And I'm going to choose somebody who will win a free book. I will contact you and order it for you to be delivered to your house. Okay.
Yay.
Come do that. So thank you so much. And if you are watching this live, then please go and like Saiyyidah's page. She is tagged inside of the live. Order the book, Results, the Art and Science of Getting Things Done. And I will also link to it inside of the comment and update the post link. Thank you so much, Saiyyidah, for sharing with us. And I am excited. I'm excited to read it. I'm excited to implement it. I'm excited to get my daughter to wash dishes.
I'm excited for your daughter to wash the dishes too. When you work that one out, you let me know, because I need to learn from you.
I know she's gonna be on Instagram comment in a minute, but
thank you so much, Mubaraka. It's been an absolute honor to be here.
Thank you too. All right, inshallah, we will definitely remember, tag a friend underneath this video in the next 24 hours. I'm going to, so today is Monday, the 16th of November. I will give everybody until Tuesday, the 17th of November at 2 p.m. So at 2 p.m. tomorrow, I am going to choose one person off of Instagram, one person off of Facebook to buy one of Saiyyidah's books for them. So go ahead and tag a friend and share the video. All right. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.